Here's the biggest lesson I've learned in 5 years is the mastery of my capacity. And your capacity is taken by a lot of different things. But one of the main things that takes your capacity is stress. And what I'd call stuck stress. Things that you just can't release, can't let go. People in your life, all these different things. People just don't, like, the stress over money, stress over where you're at, like happy, like, it's like it is this drainage on your energy that pulls from your actual capacity, right? Then now you try to overcorrect and try to do all these things, and then you get burnt out, right? Like even super like ambitious, driven people, like they just like, it's like just keep the hammer down all the way till you need a complete reset, right? And the only way to get capacity, once you get to a place of free, right, where I have no more stuck stress. Stress doesn't exist inside me, right? Like all of the things that ever caused stress, I cleared and then built systems to protect me from ever happening, right?
What was the one you had to let go of that was the hardest?
I'm there's no specific one because I do that. The beauty of that qualitative, asking yourself every day, how do I feel about my life? How do I feel about my work? How do I feel about my health? When you ask yourself that, you come up with a number and a reason why. And when the number's low and the reason why is someone you work with, like, and that happens 2 or 3 times, it's so clear to you that, okay, I need to remove this.
Or I need to adjust it or whatever.
And I think even like a big one early on was just not understanding money. Right? Like, and, you know, we talked about in 2016 how profound, Money Master the Game was for me and how it began this evolution of learning money. But it was a huge one for me. But in that period, once I saw that happening, man, this is actually bringing to surface all these things about my life, work, and health that are bothering me, that became now easy to eliminate, because it's like, oh, well, there's that again. Like, okay, let's just stop that, right? Versus like when it's coming from all these different ways, it's hard to tell what is actually causing the stress, right? And so as I got to that level of getting clear, now there's this extraordinary energy behind it, right? And so part of that process too was like, okay, I no longer want to do things that take energy from me. I only want to do things that give me energy. So here's your option. You need to either like learn it really well so that it can take less effort, so it now begins to give you energy, like not take it from you. You either need to automate it or you need to hire someone.
Outsource it.
Yeah, and it's like as I transition to seeing everything through the lens of how do I drive it to automation, everything began to change.
What were the 3 biggest things you automated or outsourced that were taking a lot of energy from you?
I mean, look, you got to think I've built an entire system around my life, right? Like, and this is my chief of staff and my 2 assistants run my life operating model called the Rhythm of Existence. That's an 80-page document that is basically, food delivery, how our housekeepers and nannies work, like travel, like haircuts, like meeting agendas, schedules, family agendas, all the weekly date nights, everything to do with operating and running my entire existence. All the outside, like if there's a leak, you just go into the document, here's all the plumbers that would deal with it. Like it is basically eliminating a giant aspect of your core life that now is humming by itself. In a great example of true like create something, automate it, and then optimize it, right? Because greatness is found in optimization after you've automated, right? And is ridiculousness, right? Because you got to think, I used to shoot 30 or 40 a year, and it would take all this time of lead up and production. It would take so much energy. I'd be there all day to shoot 2 episodes, and I eventually started to optimize it, evolve it. Then I went to shooting 3 a day. Then I stopped going to production meetings and standardized how we delivered scripts to me. And now I no longer have to look at no guest scripts. Like I just slowly got the entire thing down to where I don't even need to meet with producers anymore. They send me the shows. I have the scripts with all these adjustments I can make. I watch it one time, make all my adjustments, and then go shoot it. And now I shoot 6 a day.
6?
Instead of shooting 2 a day.
Wow.
And I shoot 6 between 9 a.m. and 3 o'clock, where I used to shoot 2 between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Right? And so, you know, when you look at my time, you know, where I've tagged my time and you know, again, designed pure balance, right?
Wow.
And then tagged it all in the calendar. And so it pumps out the dashboards of how I spent my time. And it's even fascinating to me that, you know, I spend 30% with my family, 30% sleeping, 30% working, 10% on health. But when you look at the data, I shoot 250 episodes, and it is 4% of my total time in a year, right? And that is when you have just gotten to a place of extraordinary optimization and efficiency. But what is it? It becomes effortless.
Right.
You're not even like, it's no longer even like a part of you don't have to, it only requires the energy to go and do it. Where in the beginning you're thinking about it all the time. You're thinking about the get. What do I got to do? And then you're trying to get prepared, and all of these things that are part of that ultimately get there. Now I go back to it's 4% and takes very little energy, so it leaves. I have a ton of capacity. Right? So it's like every time I do something new, it's like, how can I drive it? What's the pathway to automation? You know, because even doing the podcast, it's like, you know, like launching a podcast.
Build with Rob. Make sure you subscribe. Watch it.
Yeah, subscribe. But I didn't know how I wanted to do it. But I knew that I didn't want to do it interview style because it's like, I just think of like how hard it is to like book guests, right?
A lot,
like
man.
I just think
it's a full-time job.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think of like all that, then researching the get, all these things. Like when I think about like pushing to that, it just didn't. Like it was too difficult. Then it was like, why am I doing it? Because I need a platform for people to hear the way that I speak and think about business, to attract other great entrepreneurs to want to build companies with me. That is the primary focus of it, right? And ultimately, like who better to do that with than just the people that you build companies with, right? So that's why I launched it of just telling the stories, and now it's partners going through it, you know, even bringing a partner investor in Mind, Right, and Outstanding Foods on and being a part of a show. It's still not automatic, right? That's still a ton of difficulty. And like I'm continuing to transition the format until I can get to a place where I can see it, where I could do it effortlessly.
Almost like you need a co-host to like cue it up for you or something.
Yeah, no, like the way I envision, because you know I take pitches on dyrdekmachine.com if people want to pitch businesses. Then I've transitioned to basically giving advice to them about their business, and I get a ton of energy from that, right? And using the background of my experience in my current portfolio companies to give them business. Then I also give them life design advice as sort of a mentor, and like, here's how you should think about your life. And what I realize is, man, that gives me a ton of energy and has broader appeal. It's much easier for me to execute. And then I've been doing on the ones that I'm doing now, like a big monologue in the beginning of just like a philosophy in business or life that I'm in the middle of. So now I can share these thoughts that I have about the way that I'm thinking about everything. I have a great forum for that. And then I can share advice and knowledge with fellow entrepreneurs as like a tool for people that are actually in it, and I can automate that.
Yes.
Because it's the people that are sending in the questions that want to be on the show that are producing the show, and then I'm in the rhythm always of ideating on big ideas that I can share as something more unique as part of the show to go along with it. But together those, I don't gotta try to get you out there. I don't gotta try to get Billy G out there. Like I can like do these at scale, and now I can optimize it. Now how do I just make this better and better and better? How do I like just turn that now into the entrepreneur's life and business, Dave Ramsey type of show.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
But he doesn't need guests on all the time either. It's his philosophy, coaching, mentoring.
Right. Like, so, and something I get way more energy from. And then I still bring on my partners to be part of the monologue, to be like advice on part of the show. When we launch a new company, I still do the specials to do it. But I launched it and it had to feel through it. I had to feel through it, right? Because another thing that I really discovered over these 5 years that, I originally developed it for the process of creating businesses, but I realized it's actually anything you ever want to do in your life. And you first have to come up with the idea, right? The discovery phase, we call it the machine method. The next thing you do is diligence. Okay, do I want to do this? What does it take to do this? Like, you got to like figure out like, do I want to do this? Then you gotta build the plan, right? Like, so now you build the plan and boy, it's exciting because now you're like, oh man, this is gonna be amazing.
Right, then the plan fails at some point.
No, look, then you launch it.
Right.
Now it's real.
Right.
Now it's like, oh my God, this doesn't work. Is this ever going to work?
Right.
It's all the doubt. In business, they call it the valley of death, right? You don't have a real business till you have product market fit. But I believe that then when you get past the launch and you find product market fit, you scale. You now grow, you expand and grow because you figured it out. You learned everything that you needed to learn to be able to plan more precisely to actually achieve what you didn't fully understand when you built the plan earlier because you'd never done it before. Right? You have to actually experience something to begin to understand what you actually need to do to accomplish it. But you could almost tie that to anything you attempt to do. That's a relationship.
Right.
When your first relationship, we kind of like each other. Like, let me see, is she really like the one? Like, hey, you're couple dates, like, hey, let's get into a relationship. Oh, but that offended you? Like, I'm sorry, you don't like, you're like, I don't really like silent movie, whatever. It's like before you decide if it a fit, boom, you can grow together, right? It's this almost foundational structure of any creative idea growing, having the ability to grow and scale, right?
And you got to take the exploration phase, test it out, see what works.
So when I think about our first podcast, my energy, boy, that energy.
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
You hadn't built a brand yet.
Look, no, had Super Jacket a little bit, had Streetly, but had not like
built and sold a company.
Yeah, hadn't built and sold a company. The vision was I'm going to build and sell 100 and make $1 billion in liquidity. Never sold one in my life, but I did that first. I decided this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this plan. Then I spent all that time going through all the things that I need to do that. Then I designed it. When I sat with you 5 years ago, August 26th, 2016, I had just launched. And it was like, this is going to be amazing. Look at this, the machine. I got, it's like, here's all the do or diers.
You spent 2 years like with research firms helping you develop this process.
Right.
You had the whole thing mapped out, ready to go.
Yeah, it was going to just explode everything. And I literally like got into the deepest, craziest waters. And by 2.0, I had almost an entirely different philosophy by the time I redid and now discovered those phases, discovered capital staging, discovered like all of the points of growth, what had happened to all of the different companies. Because keep in mind, I did like literally, and from when I left like our podcast to like 8 months later, it was like 10 brands I did.
You made a ton of investments.
It was just like boom, 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 and really, again, coming out of here, introducing me to Billy G, and then doing, taking Fresh Soul to Pig Out and Outstanding.
Yep.
It's like, was in that era, Momentous, Black Feather Whiskey, like, Where To, like all of these, like Made by Science, Chemistry Holding. It was like one after another in that gap. And then by the time the second year came by and they were like in chaos, right? Like it was...
All of them are chaos. You're like, I need to restructure.
Yeah, it was, some were really working, some were not. It was like, well, why is that? Like, what happened? Like, why is this one out of... Like, it was this extraordinary like awakening of beginning to see like the triangulation of like all the things that they were going through were so similar and how I could have prevented them with a better process. And then I just took the time to redo that process and then built like the Machine 2.0 and launched the Machine Method, right? And then started doing businesses through the Machine Method. But I digress back to, no different than the process I discovered there. I was in the launch phase, and I finally found my product market fit as it relates to the machine and the business in 2020, and then now have built 3.0 to now scale, like, you know, to as far as I could possibly even dream.
Wow.
You know?
What is the 3.0 version?
3.0 version is the you know, where I really realized is I systematically fuse art, science, and magic, right?
Yes.
It is, you know, it is that, like, you've got to create it. It's this building businesses and ideas, this creative process, but the science is the proven fundamentals of success, business. All these things have to happen in order for something to work. And then the magic is these intangibles. You know what I mean? This.
Give me an example.
Here's the perfect one, tie it back to Super Jacket. Like, you negotiate for unit economics, get this big order, then when it comes out, it has an entire resurgence, and because linear cable goes down, then a pandemic hits,
Ooh.
and then they now your show goes to like it to an even higher level because everybody's sitting at home and they've watched everything on Netflix and they can just sit there for 4 hours and just laugh and just forget it out. And it has another research. You could never. And what did all of that do? It led to these bigger orders and giant return that drives to a bigger earnout for the acquisition, way bigger than I could have ever even dreamed when I built it, the original idea, or when I actually sold it versus what it actually became. It's completely unexplainable, and it is pure magic, right? Pure, like complete magic. And so,
what season are you shooting on now?
24. Right.
You've already got order for 30.
Yes, I got 6. You know, I got the rest of this year, then 250 next year. So I'm gunning, right? But again, I say it to, and then, you know, where the machine itself and how that comes alive. Like, now it is a fully integrated, multi-platform universe of brands, media, community, and philanthropy, right? So what did I do? Not only did I like create this system for taking businesses from an idea stage all the way to acquisition, but then I'm launching the complete media vertical that starts with Build with Rob and building content around our philosophy and creating businesses. Then I launched The Machinist, right? So The Machinists are people that sign up and now become part of the Machine Method process, where they are consumer collaborators, where every step along the way we're asking them what they think about the product. So what I'm building loyal consumers because they're actually part of the process, right? So you do that. I launched the Do or Dyer Foundation, right, for underserved and underappreciated entrepreneurs, and put $1 million into that. And our first program is we're doing business competitions with other great entrepreneur charities, right? We have 3 tracks: youth prodigies, women and people of color, and recently incarcerated, right? And building the programs to support and give them like non-dilutive capital, like you know, proving they have the do or die spirit and the idea. And again, all of these ultimately are built to scale, right? And you know, even as I evolved as a business person, I understood that, like, you know, you operate a business not from a traditional standpoint, because everything's integrated and everything integrates through you, right? And when I realized, like, I run a flat organization, and that it's me and my president and COO, and then the heads of all these divisions. Man, if I put somebody in every single one of these divisions, venture, media, product, community, philanthropy, founder, brand manager for myself, like operations, finance, and brand and marketing, right? You look at those 10 verticals, they integrate all the way across, and ultimately I can put KPIs on all of them. And so all those KPIs ladder up to the strength of the machine and the performance of the machine to essentially be one of the most impactful venture studios ever created. And everybody understands it and understands their mission. It's fully organized and completely integrated to basically create the amplification for our existing portfolio and the gravity for our future portfolio, right?
Wow.
And all of that now driven to automation, systemization, so that it's 10 core divisions that all have people, but I oversee all of them, but it's done in a way that is highly organized and highly efficient, right? And even how I do a Monday. I start at 4:30. I spend all morning like going through a fully connected hot sheet where all divisions go through my hot sheet, where I have a master hot sheet with both my personal and business, and then all 10 divisions and managements go through it. And then so I have complete and total visibility on all aspects of my life, right? And then I go first with my chief of staff for an hour, then my president and COO for an hour, and then I go half hours with every division through the hot sheets that integrated into my hot sheets, so that ultimately at the end of Monday, we're all completely reset and we set the week's goals and the week's meetings, like instead of, because what did I used to do? I used to have all these standing meetings, and then I'd rely on people to have picking up loose ends and having things organized, and then it's like trying to fit it in that hour time slot, and then you're trying to do 5 things when you really could only do 1. And so I deaded all that, and then on that Monday, then we set the week, and it's like, okay, half hour on Tuesday for the Russell collab we're gonna do for the foundation. Okay, an hour on Wednesday for KPIs for the new head of venture, right? It's like, so you become so much more efficient, but you're also creating more clarity for those that work for you, and more clarity for yourself, and amplifying your output because it's so focused and organized. But I digress. I had to get to a place of like understanding, like, the paradigm is a structure of a company kind of has these hierarchies and people report to them and they handle all these different things. But when I was able to finally get the clarity of like, here's the 10 divisions, here's how they integrate, I need somebody to own every single one, then I've basically added 50 hours to my output by putting one body in each of those. Where before I used to like have 3 or 4 of those mashed together with someone more junior that I tried to support, and it's pulling energy and time and like all this stuff.
How do you find these people you can trust?
It's funny because hiring's the hardest thing in the world.
It's so hard.
Hardest thing in the world. And I always looked at it as, it's just this, it just is what it is. It is what it is. It's just hard. And I realized that I made it hard because I never, even though I'd write these great detailed job descriptions, I still would I would try to hire people and have them do all of these different things, and then have unrealistic expectations on their ability to do the things that I wanted them to do. And they would sell themselves that they could do it all when really their skill set was really built to do one of them, right? And I think that changed because when you're trying to hire someone through a lens that you have total clarity on as management, and your ability to interview them becomes so much clearer. Then when you test them, right? You give them a test, then it's so much clearer, like, oh, this is the right fit, this is gonna be amazing. And they drop right in, and their experience has led them to get here, right? And I would say even the one I was most patient for, which is the most complex, is my chief of staff.
Oh, man.
Because it's like, if that's the actual like cornerstone of my existence, that's basically everything, my entire time, energy, and this rhythm of existence. I created this rhythm of existence document, 80-page operation like system for my life in 2015. I did not implement it until 19.
Wow.
Because the assistants I would hire couldn't do it. And so when my assistant that couldn't do it quit on me, and it's like, oh man, here we, because what happens? I'm so busy. The idea of trying to get another chief of staff was like too insane.
So you're taking it on yourself and you're trying to pass it off.
So when she left, then I committed like, no, I need someone that has the skill set, is the perfect personality that can really do it. and I was patient until I found the absolute perfect person, and then came in and became the like now that rhythm of existence is not what I did in 2015. It's the 2021 fully flushed out, fully operating. You know, there's like our family sync agendas in there and how we meet as a family and keep everything fully organized. It's like, you know, everything to do with all my doctors and health and everything to do with my entire life
and business.
Like, yeah, life and business, not as it relates to organization, right? It's like my main top hot sheet has it all, but then each manager's hot sheet I click through into theirs, right? So they stay separate, and she mainly focuses on making sure I'm doing everything that I would say I would do from a business standpoint, right?
Wow.
Beyond automation is optimization, where you just get better and better, and the better it gets, the less effort it takes. Your system gets smoother the longer people are with you and stay in the system, the more efficient they become, the more optimized like they are and how they communicate with you.